Welcome to another exciting episode of Bowhunt or Die. Well, if you watched in the last couple of weeks, Justin actually turned me down to go hunting with me, but finally yesterday, Justin...
I'm a broken man, a shell of a deer hunter. Finally, no, Todd and I did go out yesterday for a hunt, and man, I tell you what, Todd, we were talking about this while we were out there. I mean, it is only mid to end of November, and it literally feels like January. I mean, 20 degrees, 20 miles an hour wind, snow. It's pretty brutal out there right now.
Probably one of the best Novembers that I honestly can remember for deer hunting. I mean, it is everything you could ever ask for. I mean, wind, snow, cold, deer
I don't know that I'm
movement.
asking for this much cold or this much wind. I would take like a 30-degree morning versus like a 10-degree morning. But we did have a great hunt last night. You know, guys, we're going to be showing you some of the updates from my season, probably in next week's show. I've had a ton of great encounters, so we're going to be showing you those here pretty soon. But for this week's show, Todd, first up, we've got Dean on his annual trip up to Minnesota.
Yeah, and you know what? For those of you who have watched and went back and watched all the episodes, I mean, Dean is a machine, and I'll tell you what, he does a great job. So take a look.
All right, guys, I just traveled about 4 hours from Wisconsin to Minnesota, and I'm going to be out here for about 5 days and do a little bow hunting. And it's my annual trip I take every year. So I'm going to visit with the landowner a little bit and catch up with him and his family. And then I'm going to put a stand up. And if I get some time, maybe I'll put 2 up. I know I'll try to get 1 up for sure so I can hunt tonight. And I've been looking ahead the way the wind's going to be, so I think I'll be okay with just getting 1 up today if I get rushed for time, but if not, I'm going to try to get 2 of them up right away. So stick with me, and hopefully this week we can get a big buck on the ground. I mean, it's November 2nd, and it's cold, and they should be going. So stick with me, and hopefully we'll have some luck. All right, it's a bit breezy here in Minnesota, but it's November 2nd, and I don't know where else I'd want to but be in a tree right now. So I traveled out here this morning and got a chance to put 1 stand up, and I'm hunting a friend's property that this will be my 15th year hunting here now. So I got a pretty good read on how the deer are traveling. They seem to switch up a little bit every year, but I got big bluffs to the southeast of me, got a big valley to the west of me that runs up to Standing Corn on the north and Standing Corn on the west. I'm hunting over water tonight. It's 54 degrees today, and over the years I've seen some pretty good bucks either at the water or close to it when those bucks start cruising, and a lot of times they'll come up, get a drink, and move on. And it's usually a really good spot in the morning after running all night. They come back, get a drink, and they move on. And the does come here to drink too. The bucks know that, so where the does are, the bucks are gonna be. So. Running out of camera light here, so not a bad evening, really windy, but didn't get skunked. Seen a spike buck and a little button buck, so hopefully tomorrow's a better day. Those deer read the script, that's for sure. Obviously there was no shooters with, but they laid all those tracks right down here, so who knows, maybe yet this morning a mature buck's gonna hit their track and follow them in yet. Starting to look good, starting to look better. The bucks are chasing, and all little ones. We just need some of them big guys to get up on their feet, start day walking. All right, everyone, I'm hanging about 20 foot up in a tree here in Minnesota with nothing but time on my hands. So what I want to do this week is give you the tip of the week. And the tip of the week is going to be about safety. And that safety is not just having a good harness. That's half of it. That's half the being safe. The other half is right here behind me, is having a lifeline. You know, you hook into that prusik knot on the bottom of the tree, and you're hooked in all the way up and all the way back down at the end of your hunt. So, you know, we spend all this money on our bows, our camo, our tree stands, and everything else that goes with it. And that stuff isn't going to be any good if you're not around to use it. So let's face it, it's not just about us. It's about our families and friends, people that count on us to be there at the end of the hunt. So that's your tip of the week. It's not just about being safe. It's about being as safe as you can be. And that's being hooked all the way up and all the way down. So good luck out there, and keep chasing that buck of your dreams. Today's another day. The wind finally died down, so I'm not going to go down low. I'm going to stay up high, and I'm going to sit on the pond set, and I should have a good wind for there. Southwest wind again. In a great spot. Usually the bucks come through cruising when they're on the move, so with any luck we're going to catch a mature one this morning. So I'm going to wrap up here, jump in the shower, and get showered up in some scent-free soap, and get ready to get back out in the tree and sit as long as I can, maybe do an all-day sit again. So I'll see you in the stand. Well, guys, I messed up, that's for sure. I was just getting all the camera gear set up this morning, and I was running a little bit late. A big buck came in right underneath the tree, came down to drink. I panicked. I didn't even have my release on. It was in my pocket, which was zippered up. Unzippered it, got the release on. I panicked. I thought he was going to drink and leave real quick and grab the bow. I look now, I didn't even have my release buckled in on the right notch, so it was real loose. Shot way back. Looks just right in front of the hindquarters. With any luck, maybe I hit the kidneys. It's not good. All right, well, it's about 7.5 hours after I shot that buck this morning, and it's starting to sprinkle right now with more rain coming in. I really feel like I should maybe give him more time, but I'm not sure what kind of decision to make. Do you take up the track looking for blood, after it'll be close to 8 hours by the time we get in there? Or do you let it rain tonight and then just look for a body? I'm not sure right now. So I reviewed the footage. I went back to the motel and reviewed the footage on my computer. And one thing I noticed is that buck jumped right in the pond after I shot him. And I couldn't get the camera back on him until he was out of the pond. And he went probably 30 yards. And he stopped there for a little bit. And I thought that's what I seen, when I was watching him and trying to film at the same time. I was zoomed way out. But I could see blood pouring out of going down out of the hole down the side of his body. But as much blood that was pouring out of his side, I might have hit the kidneys. So I don't know. My buddies are showing up here in a little bit. And we're just going to take it slow and see how much blood we actually have. I don't want to push them, but yet with the rain coming in, I'm not sure what else to do. So stay tuned, and with any luck, we're going to recover this buck. Right here's where that buck stopped after I shot him. He jumped in the pond, came up here and stopped, and when I reviewed the footage, there's a lot of blood coming down his side. It's been pushing 8 hours now, so I'm just going to take up the blood trail here, and with any luck, we're going to find this guy. Right here I have some blood that's on his left side, so that's a good thing. It did come through the other side. There he is. Man, he didn't go far at all. He probably went, 125 yards. I can't believe it. It's a big one. Biggest buck of my life. All right, guys, here he is. We waited about 8 hours to be on the safe side, and he's pretty stiff when we found him, so I believe he's been dead for quite some time. I hit him back. It was a terrible shot, no doubt about it. I just rushed it this morning, and that's what happened, but thankfully it looks like it's just in front of the hind quarter there and high. Probably hit the kidneys, and he went about 125 yards, so I am done in Minnesota, tagged out after 4 days of being here. And this is the biggest buck I've ever shot with the bow. Big bladed tine here next to his brow. I couldn't be happier. Bow hunt or die.
Oh, Justin. I mean, we sit here just like you do when you're sitting in your couch or your chair watching our show, and I mean, you see that shot, and you just have that feeling of, oh no.
You cringe.
You cringe
as a bow hunter. You're just like, ugh, that's not good.
Right. And you know what? I mean, I did too, but the one thing that you're always watching for is you're watching for every detail that you can see when you let that arrow fly, right? And immediately, I mean, you and I were both sitting here because we kind of pre-watch all the shows,
right.
And both of us were like, oh, and we got in there, and you could see that blood coming down that leg, which was obviously a great sign for Dean.
Yeah, but I mean, even when you see that, I mean, unless you see the deer fall over in a shot like that, and Dean emphasizes that he does the right thing. I mean, you just have to wait, and you could see him kind of wrestling with that decision of, do I go out? Is it too soon? I got some weather moving in. I would have done the same thing. 7 to 8 hours is usually a pretty good, time to wait, even on a hit like that. And he goes out. Obviously, he must have caught an artery, or like he said, the kidneys. That deer certainly didn't go far. It looks like he just went around the bend and fell over. But you always want to err on the side of caution, and it's something we stress in all of our shows. But I mean, when we talk about keeping it real and showing the real emotion, I mean, here's another great example. I mean, stuff happens. We do make mistakes out in the woods, and this isn't a case of a guy trying to pretend that he made a good shot and sit there and fist pump and be like, dude, I totally smoked him. Let's go get him. I mean, that's just not who we are. Dean represents that very well, and heck of a great deer he killed.
Oof, it was a super good deer. I love that one tine coming out by its brow tine.
Yeah.
Just an awesome looking deer. So Justin, what do we got up next?
Well, next up, we're gonna fly down to southern Indiana with Dan Richardson and his engraved rocks. For those of you who watch our show and you know about his rocks that he makes for trophies for the get-together, he's got a special one in this clip we're about to see right here.
They didn't start till late morning, around 9 o'clock. I had a spike come in just a little while ago. It was pretty cool. I've got an engraved rock down there with the Tink's logo on it, and I had sprayed persimmon mist on it this morning, and he come down there and was nosing around on it. That's pretty cool. And then I've had 3 does and a fawn back behind me, and they was in some really thick stuff. They didn't come close, but they kind of disappeared, and then the spike came back, and he got to chasing them around. So I was hoping he'd at least drive one of them does up here for a shot, but they left. October 30th, we had the first frost this morning here in southern Indiana, at least in my area anyway. Before it was even light enough to film, I had a small buck chasing a doe under me. It's looking good. I'm surrounded on 3 sides by a thicket, and then back up behind me is some old strip mine ground. It's real hilly up in there, and that's where they bed at. Here's the plan for this evening. I'm going to take one of these little scent drags from Tink's, spray it down with some 69, lay me a little trail up in here. Little tip, anytime you use these drags, carry a little Ziploc. That way you've got something to put it in if you need to carry it out. You don't have to get it all over you. Let's get this trail laid down. Got a shooter buck. He's got a doe locked down in this thicket right now. She's bedded down about 40 yards away. He keeps tooling around in the thicket, just kind of back and forth and grunting. Man, I hope they come out. He's very nice looking buck. Well, everyone, as much as it pains me to do this, I'm going to get down and get out of here. I just looked at the radar. I'm getting ready to get hit by a pretty good storm, and I have a very long hike out of here. I'm so close. Bowhunt or die. All right, there's a doe on the ground. I can see her laying over there about 60 yards. Anyway, let's get down. I see my arrow. Ain't gonna be no track job. I can see her from the tree. Let's go get my doe. Well, I walked over here anyway. I wanted to see what the blood trail looked like. There's blood all over the place. The kill zone really did its job. She would have been an easy track anyway. Well, here she is. Perfect size eating doe. This is going to be really nice in the freezer. What I did this morning, I've been after a couple pretty good bucks in a really remote area, and we've had a full moon the last couple days, and I just felt like I needed to give that area a break today, so I opted for this other spot right here, and I kind of had a doe in my mind anyway today. If one came by, I was going to take a shot, but luckily she didn't last long at all, and I'm going to get her cleaned up, get her dressed out this evening, and get her in the freezer. Bow hunt or die.
Well, guys, as we saw right there, Dan's been hunting extremely hard. Todd, we saw that buck that he had close to him, kind of, dogging that doe around and just kind of being on lockdown with her. He's been hunting, like I said, extremely hard. He's seen that buck a multitude of times, and actually did end up getting a buck on the ground. We're just going to have to wait and see which one it was in an upcoming episode.
Yeah, and I guess I better state for the record, too, since I'm always doing some of the business stuff around here. Justin, we get any proceeds of rock sales that goes down for sure, because I think Dan was up to something with trying to show off his rock making
clever
skills
product placement for Dan in there. If anyone's looking for an engraved rock, maybe for their house, I get it.
That's what I'm thinking Dan was up to.
50% cut seems pretty
50%.
fair,
So there you go, Dan. 50%. And if anybody wants a nice rock, Dan definitely can make you one. Next up, let's go ahead for those of you guys who like hunting public land. Josh has been hard at it this year, and we'll have to wait to see how he does in the end here, of course, but take a look at some of his public land tips.
All right, Josh Fletcher with bowhunting.com. This year we're doing something not totally different for us, but we wanted to emphasize more on and give you guys a different perspective here, but we're doing a lot of public land hunting. We're out here, this is big timber country, tracts of public land. Right now it's, I believe, September 27th. Last night sat in the stand, I had a doe come in behind me stuff. But today we're going to be running some game cameras. We're going to go out, we're going to go pop into some cutovers. This was logged off last year. We like looking at these cutovers because when they do these select cuts or these clear cuts, it produces a bunch of fresh new growth. These deer treat it, in big timber country, they treat it as if it would be like an egg field, whether it be corn or soybean. This is where they come for feed. So this is going to be our food source behind us. We're going to go in, you start looking at these select cuts, and it's kind of nice because they make smaller clear cuts, and then they create little barriers, little pinch points of timber that connect these select cuts, and these deer love to travel those corridors. That's what we're going to do now. We're going to go in, look for some good trails. When we find a good trail, we're going to pop stealth cam up on the trail, and we're going to let her sit for about a month, come back in next month here when the rut's just starting to kick off, see what we got for caliber of bucks. I like using the trail cameras to give you not so much saying, okay, these deer are coming through at 6 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock at night. I like using a game camera to give me inventory. I want to see what's in this area for caliber of bucks, what they expect. Is there a big boy here? Is this an area worth hunting? Now granted, when the rut kicks in, these deer move in and out, but this time of the year it's a great tool for trying to see what you have for deer herd caliber of bucks. So we're going to slip on in here and do a little bit of scouting and see what we can find. As I'm walking along, I'm always carrying a cell phone in my hand. The reason I'm doing that is I'm not sitting here texting graph, is that there's a lot of neat apps out there. The primary one that I like to use is Google Earth. Just anything with an aerial photo, you can hit a little cursor button and it shows you where you are. When you're hunting these cutovers with all these bottlenecks, these edges, these pinches, every type of funnel that you're looking for these deer to be traveling on, I can sit here and look at my phone. I can see in relation where I am on the aerial photo with where I want to start looking. When you start getting into this marshier grass, this reed grass, even some of the aerial photos, you can see the deer trails where they come through. If you look close enough, Google Earth, the reason I like it is that they update their photos fairly regularly. Every couple of years you got a fresh update. With these cutovers, I mean, it can change year to year. Logging company can come in and log out a whole new section that's not on your aerial photo. So you still got to put the boots to the ground, but doing some cyber scouting definitely helps also. So between a GPS, the cell phone, and boots on the ground, you can really get into this backcountry area and find these neat little pinches, these funnels where these bucks like to travel. Next main feature, and this one cannot be overlooked, is edges. Deer are creatures of edges, just like humans. When you walk through the woods, pay attention to where you're walking. You may not realize it, but you're naturally walking edges also. You have two types of edges. You have a hard edge and you have a soft edge. A hard edge is pretty much what it describes it as. Cornfield, button up to timber or woods. That solid straight line, that edge. The most productive edges are the soft edges, and that's the harder ones to see, and that's right behind me. These are what you want to be looking for. As you can see, you've got some thick tag alders. As it slowly starts to feather in to a bunch of more open timber, this is an edge right here. This is that soft edge. You want to find this little feather of that transition. I'm standing on a deer trail right now, and what it is doing, it's running right along this soft edge. So when you start looking for your pinches, your bottlenecks, and you follow that, and you find yourself a soft edge, this is where you're going to want to start looking. Follow these edges, pay attention to the timber and the habitat and the terrain. Find that feather where it goes from real thick to it starts to lighten up. You're going to have an edge right there, and that's where you're going to want to start looking for a stand.
One of the biggest questions that we get asked a lot, Todd, is, do any of our guys hunt public land? And as you guys just saw, Josh Fletcher up there in Wisconsin is definitely pounding the public land, and he goes out there and he does a lot of scouting and puts in a lot of time and effort and energy into doing that, which, when you're hunting heavily pressured public ground, that's one of the things that you have to do in order to try and be successful. So I think Josh gave us some great tips there. As we saw, Todd, those soft edges, they can be hard to find.
Right.
When you stand back and look at it, it's not as obvious as, like Josh said, the edge of a cornfield and in a woods, but when you can find them, the deer definitely like to travel there, and that can be one of your best spots to set up when you're on public ground.
Yeah, definitely. There's no question about it, Justin. I agree. I mean, that video is difficult to see it, but there's no doubt when you start getting in off some of those hard lines, that's where you really find some of those soft spots, and those bucks will travel those things, all the time because they don't want to present themselves out in the open. So I think those are some great tips that people can definitely use for sure.
All right, well, next up, we're going to take a couple seconds to thank some of the people who sent in their trophy photos for this week's episode.
Matthew Weber,
Tyler Lubbett,
Desiree McDonald,
Daniel Paul,
Sandra Foster,
and Josh Hageman. Congratulations, everybody. Those are some great trophies. Now remember, if you want to see yourself right here in an episode of Bowhunt or Die, all you've got to do is email your photos to info@bowhunting.com, or you can post them on our Facebook page. So Todd, that's all the action we've got for this week's episode. As we talked about, we're looking at, end of November, which means the rut's going to be winding down here pretty soon.
But you know what, Justin, for those of you who are fans of the show, one thing that's cool is we've got a lot of bucks still in the hopper here for you to see. And don't give up. We always talk about this not giving up. And it's not just a desperation kind of thing. Every year people worry about who are just bow hunters, maybe who don't shotgun hunt or don't rifle hunt. They think that those guys are going to get all the deer. But you know what? Generally speaking, there's always some deer left to chase. So keep the cameras running.
There's going to be a few less deer to chase.
See, it's got to be negative.
Why
do you gotta go negative?
It's not negative. This is the reality of things. It definitely does get harder after gun season, which is this weekend, the first firearm season here in Illinois. It's going to get more difficult, but I tell you what, man, I think Thanksgiving weekend things are still going to be going pretty good. Todd and I saw some bucks that were, definitely still nudging and chasing some does around last night. So I think we got a good week left of some decent, daytime buck activity. So if you guys, can bow hunt during firearm season, which you can do in a lot of places, definitely get out there, guys. Things are still rocking and rolling pretty good. So good luck to everybody who's out there hunting, and I guess we'll see you back here next week on Bowhunt or Die.
In the meantime, don't forget to check out facebook.com/bowhunting for daily updates, news, photos, and other exciting information. We want to hear your opinions and your stories, so join us now and like us on Facebook.
All right, it's October 30th. Tomorrow is Halloween. Yeah, baby. That's what happens when you gore yourself with an antler. Pow.
Welcome to Bowhunt or Die. We've got more. Okay.